Sure.
You know what I want?
What?
Voltron coin. We could have like 5 different coins that if you have all 5 coins,
together,
it comes together to form a bigger coin.
But the Japanese market will love that.
It's the Voltron coin.
I'm first generation Voltron coins. I need all 50 of them to make Voltron.
How about Godzilla coin or Coinzilla? And then we could have Mothra.
How about Kong coin? Kong coin.
King coin. Kong coin. I like Kong coin better. That's a good one. All right, we got a lot of ideas out there. By the way, if we see any of these come out, we will be suing based on Article Z of the cryptocurrency constitution.
That you were stupider than us.
You were way dumber than us.
The advice provided on this podcast is general advice only. All statements made are considered by the participants to be accurate, but accuracy cannot be guaranteed. It has been prepared without taking into account your objectives, financial situations, or needs. All participants in this podcast, including guests, may have a financial interest in any or all of the products or services mentioned. Before acting on this advice, you should consider the appropriateness of the advice, having regard to your own objectives, financial situations, and needs. If any private products are detailed on this podcast, you should obtain a product disclosure statement relating to the products and consider its contents before making any decisions. Where quoted, past performance is not indicative of future results.
Recorded December 23rd, 2017. It's the Money Path Podcast with your hosts, Bob Iacchino and Mike Arnold, founders of Path Trading Partners. Episode 102 is a big one. Lots of cryptography talk, lots of trading talk. Let's just get right to it.
I'm ruined because Bitcoin's crashing. This was so unexpected. I never imagined it would go back to these kind of levels. I'm dumbfounded.
Mike, I would just ask you if we do interviews to make sure you throw in a couple of your dumb jokes that nobody understands so that I can play up the relationship between you and me. Where it's like, look, he's just like Android Mike. His jokes are terrible. He does that.
All you have to say is, Mike, tell some of your jokes, and we're done.
My jokes are dumb?
Yeah, they're terrible.
What? Well, Merry Christmas to you, too. I think Christmas should be canceled, though, because we have crypto carnage.
Crypto what? Porridge?
Crypto carnage. Crypto carnage, not crypto porridge. Why would I want crypto porridge?
I got to find this. I got to read this right off of Twitter. Hang on. I don't think I'll mention the guy's Twitter handle because I don't want to promote him because it's just, there's a guy, here's a picture of himself. He's all rich, right, according to the pictures.
He has his rented cars.
Yeah, according to the pictures, he's all rich. And basically he says, just for today, buy a little. Make sure you practice your buying. Don't go crazy today. And then a guy underneath it basically said to him, when do we sell? In you we trust. That's what somebody said. In you we trust. He literally said, for today, just buy a little. There's no, and it's funny because, again, Mike in the videos called out these levels. I saw us getting below the R zone, and I'm like, okay, this is the one. It may not be the collapse, it may not be the crash, but it's a revalue for sure. And you can see it on the charts. I mean, you can just see it happening, right? I mean, when we didn't get back above the rotation zones, really on any time frame, right, Mike?
Well, I was watching specifically, and I talked about in the videos, once we got below it on the 4 hour, then every rally into it, and we talked about this on the videos, was don't get aggressive here because it's selling into the R zones. And then I've talked about this for recently, and especially on the Bitcoin ones, we could easily return to the weekly rotation zone, which was the last level I called out was 11,800, and which we hit below today. I can't update these videos fast enough, else I wouldn't be doing anything else but updating videos. But then the next level below that was we had a significant level at 11,155, which has been on the charts for weeks. And we came back to the 625 retracement that's also been on the charts for weeks, which was the low of the 11th of November up to the high on the 17th. And, our major rotation zones from the long-term perspective are between the 0.5 and 0.625, and the 625 level was 10,834, and the low today was 10,700.
It's funny because... Go ahead, Mike. No, go ahead, please. Finish your thought.
What I was going to say is people, when we were talking about these levels, because we've talked about those things naturally when they get overextended. I've talked about this for weeks. And you can go back and watch YouTube videos. Don't be shocked. At some point, this is going to return to the weekly rotation zone. And people are like, no, it's not. It can't go. It's never going to do this. No, no, no. And then, boom, we're back to the weekly rotation zone.
This particular guy that I'm talking about on Twitter has 4.6 million followers. Okay. And his quote right now, his most recent tweet, be greedy when everyone is fearful and fearful when everyone is greedy. And you could tell in his description of himself, he has his name, then it says Bitcoin, Litecoin, of course it's all the Verge investor. I don't know what the hell that means. Been doing this 26 years. I don't know what a Verge investor is. And he, first of all, he steals Warren Buffett's line and doesn't credit Warren Buffett, right? And literally every single thing under him is scared money don't make money. Buy cryptos now. And then somebody finally says you should quote the true author if you're going to steal his lines, Warren Buffett. And then the guy right under him, Warren Buffett couldn't have said it better, except he buys stocks. Stupid. Time in the market, trying to time is better than trying to time the market. And then the guy underneath, my wife just left me.
Do you have a couch I can sleep on?
Then another guy, wow, well said. As if this guy said the line, like as if this guy originated the line. You have a 100-year history or more of stocks doing nothing but go up over the long term. Over the long term. Cryptos have been trading since 2010, basically. So 7 years. They've been actively trading for 3 at the most. I think I'm being generous in saying it's 3. And then somebody threw in Listen to Greedy by Ariana Grande, 100% recommended. I hope you liked it. I mean, wow, what a line somebody wrote. I'm on a buying spree. What an opportunity. I mean, it just, this whole concept, and again, Stafford, Mike, and I are not here saying that cryptocurrencies are a bad investment. We're not saying that at all. But this idea that buying every dip is easy money and it is just no way to lose is complete insanity and is completely dead-ass frickin' wrong. Try not to cuss. It makes me so angry to see this because we've seen it so many times before.
Yeah, when you boil it down to a platitude, you might as well say platitudes are horse.
Yeah. There's just no way. There is no easy money that doesn't get arbed away. In other words, when there's easy money like this, it eventually goes away. Always. 100% of the time.
Well, also, it's just in the nature, we've seen this through all kinds of manias. When something goes vertical, how does it correct?
Exactly.
It does the same. It doesn't matter if it's cryptos. Cryptos weren't different. They just played out the same. Okay, they're going vertical, and at some point, expect it to go vertical back down, and that's what it did. It's similar to a ton of other markets. This isn't something new. It's just the nature of, especially we talked about it, I think, on the last couple of podcasts. Weren't people in Japan like trading at 25 times leverage?
Yeah. And, again, if this were to go straight up, there has to be people selling it. And when you get these collapses, there are people selling stuff. There has to be someone who sells you the coins. So if it is nothing but up, eventually there will not be any more sellers. So you can't get out of it. It defies logic, in other words, right? if it is 100% positive that it will never go down, then no one will sell, and you can't get out. So you end up owning Bitcoin, number one. Number two, there's this advertisement that you see on YouTube videos all the time with this goofy curly-haired guy, right, where he's being touted as Bitcoin genius. He was on CNBC, where he talks about now it's 300 billion in Bitcoin valuation. Well, it's less today. I don't know what it is right now, but 200 to 300 billion Bitcoin valuation, but there's 1 trillion demand for capital. There is no acceleration of the acceptance of Bitcoin as a currency right now. That's not what the price is trading on. It's not like price went from 12,000 to 20,000 on this announcement by China that they're going to start valuing copper in Bitcoin. There's no acceptance of it. Let me stop. This rally is not driven by a further acceptance of Bitcoin in the general population as a currency. It's driven by people that are assuming there's value in Bitcoin at some point. I maintain, and we're seeing it already with specific people like Andrew Left of Citron, that when Goldman Sachs is about to launch their cryptocurrency desk, that news came out on Thursday. They're probably going to launch in the new year, but they're probably already up and running. Because of the futures market now, if the institutions want to bury this thing, they have the capital to bury it. And guys like this guy on Twitter who's saying, buy whenever even Goldman Sachs can't bury Bank of America stock if they wanted to, or General Motors stock if they wanted to, or Apple stock if they wanted to. There's $260 billion of traded Bitcoin a day. There's $300 billion in Bank of America stock, but there's about 80 billion shares outstanding in Bank of America. So no one an institution can bury Bitcoin if they want to. And since they have the futures to hedge now, they can do it if they want to. This is about the scariest time for cryptocurrencies so far, I think.
But tell me, what do I buy now?
Well, that's just it. Like you and I believe, I'm not gonna say this guy's name, but on CNBC Futures Now, one of the Futures Now traders said, Bitcoin and blockchain, two completely different things. These are his words. Blockchain, excellent technology. Bitcoin, it's a fad. Saying that Bitcoin and blockchain are two different things is like saying that Subway and sandwiches are two different things. Or Pizza Hut and pizza are two different things. It's one of the dumbest statements I've heard about this particular thing. Mike and I believe in the viability of cryptocurrencies. We are just not so arrogant as to say which one is going to be around 5 years from now, or which one is going to be the go-to 10 years from now. We believe in blockchain, we believe in, but for somebody to actually say on television, that shows you how uneducated the investor class is. But I promise you, Goldman is not uneducated.
I wonder how many of the audience are like me, who got into the crypto market just like 3 months ago with money that I could lose, right? Enough to go buy a nice dinner, okay? And since I see every video we do, of course, and program pieces of it, put things up. I got all out at the right time because of the levels that were called that it could go, but I was scared to even have any of this money in there. I just, when it was up and everything was said in the videos, I just went ahead and said, okay, I'm done. You got to get everything out. I don't see how any of this is long. It's too spooky. It's not right.
Look, again, there's levels to buy Bitcoin. There's levels to buy Ethereum. There's levels to buy Bitcoin Cash. Earlier, we saw what you call in traditional investments a sector rotation, which was out of Bitcoin and into Bitcoin Cash, just like when they were selling technology in the stock market and buying consumer staples and consumer materials and goods. That's called a sector rotation. We saw a sector rotation in cryptocurrencies a few days ago which exchange was it, Mike? Coinbase? That started trading in Bitcoin Cash as well.
Yeah, and there was also the bunch of people who, I forgot the main guy who said, I'm out of Bitcoin and going all into Bitcoin Cash, and everybody's like, okay, Okay, it's no big. That was like the end is not near because all right, everybody's just piling in. Some Bitcoin Cash has now been around for a few months. Okay, now just because somebody says it, everybody's like
Roger Ver.
Okay, just because somebody says okay, now it's like everybody pile in. Okay, it's becoming just no. There's no like thought process. It's just somebody's getting this is the new hot one. Everybody dive in. That's when you know it needs to, and then besides that, when at this point everybody
who let the dogs out?
Well, so at this point everybody's like, which one should I buy next? It's get to the point of I'm flipping 8 houses at once. How are you doing?
So that was Roger Ver that said that. He's known as Bitcoin Jesus. And he said it on CNBC. And here's how you know people are getting really stupid with this. 2 days ago, a website called bitcoinist.com printed a story. Evidence emerges of CNBC collusion with Roger Ver. As if somehow CNBC, who makes money on what? Ratings, right? Was colluding with Roger Ver to push the price of Bitcoin down and the price of Bitcoin Cash up. That just smacks of people going, well, it can't go down, so there must have been something wrong. Here's the thing, it can go down. Anyway, I think it was Coinbase allowed trading on Bitcoin Cash for the first time. That's called a sector rotation. But what we're seeing now, where we saw last night, Bitcoin fall as much as 30%. Ethereum fell 26%. Bitcoin Cash fell almost 40%. So they were all falling. That is a sector falling out of favor, and it happens in the equity markets all the time, and it can be sustained. I'm not saying this one is. Again, stressing, Mike and I are believers in blockchain. We're believers in cryptocurrency, or Mike wouldn't be making all the videos he does. We believe in them as a trading vehicle. We're just not arrogant enough to say which ones are going to be currency down the road. Having said all that, the blinders that people have on for it can only go up is just, it flies right in the face of history of anything.
Mike, I got a really good question. How come this super awesome peer-to-peer money exchanging technology with blockchain takes like 50 times longer than a simple wire transfer?
What to set? Are you talking through the exchanges, or are you talking through if you're actually doing a settlement just in Bitcoin?
I don't know.
Because if you're just doing a settlement in Bitcoin, it doesn't take it can vary depending, but it doesn't take that long. So now some of these exchanges take a while because they're not robust exchanges. You have to realize that a lot of these trading platforms and everything now they're getting more robust, and like Coinbase is getting more robust, and some of these other ones like Bittrex more robust, but they're still in their infancy when you compare them to things like the CME or the SIBO or the New York Stock Exchange or anything else, or even bank transfers and wire transfers. Now, blockchain is going to make bank transfers and wire transfers happen instantly in the future. Like there's not even going to be a waiting period, which there still is some waiting period, but in the crypto realm, you still have a lot of the exchanges that everybody's trading on.
So are the humans just beta testing an infrastructure for the artificial intelligence through the trading? Because a lot of these coins are represented by how much volume they're doing. So it's stress testing the underlying foundation of the technology, which is all kind of different between these different coins, but still using blockchain as a ledger. That seems to be, it's like software development at a beta level for a financial infrastructure.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about with blockchain. The blockchain technology is revolutionary and not going away, but some of these cryptos are going to go away. Again, you're not, what was it last count, like 1,400 and something? Now, at some point, there's not going to be 1,400 and something. There's going to be a main handful, and we don't know again, who's going to shake out? Who's going to all shake it out? But, you know, and there's pros to Bitcoin Cash. There's pros to Bitcoin Gold over Bitcoin. There's the different camps of people arguing, well, it's going to be Ethereum or it's going to be Litecoin or it's going to be that, fine. We don't know. We cannot predict it. So in a lot of ways, some of the ways these cryptos are implemented are beta testing for a blockchain settlement devices and
to get their transactions up. It's if nobody traded it, you wouldn't be able to stress the network and stress the infrastructure.
Well, that's also why we've had split offs. That's also why we've had these forks, because they've said, like when I talked about simple settlement time.
How much does Visa do? What does Visa do in an hour?
That's right. Exactly. Well, that was one of the things I brought up in the past when I talked about simple settlement. At certain times, if I'm transferring you Bitcoin, all right, it could take like an hour. Well, let's say I'm trying to buy a cup of coffee with Bitcoin. I'm not going to stand at the coffee shop if the network's stressed and there's a bunch of stuff going on. And, here I'm paying with Bitcoin and they hand me my coffee an hour later because it took a while to settle. Like I go in with my Visa card or my Apple Pay or whatever, PayPal, mobile PayPal, bink, Starbucks on my phone app, bink, I get my coffee. 10 seconds later because the payment is processed instantly.
And PayPal and Apple Pay are still using the Visa network. So they're not doing anything unique or new. They're just an API on top of the Visa exchange network.
So, and this is getting like a lot of people's, they don't like to trade Ripple. Well, one of the reasons I love Ripple, because Ripple has not gone psychotic in pricing also. I mean, it went up a fair amount, but it did not go psycho levels, is because that's one still, it's essentially blockchain controlled by some of the big banks. It's going to be essentially a wire transfer infrastructure for bank settlement. But that's one that I don't think is going away because it's actually, that's why a lot of people don't like it. Well, it's controlled by the banks and the government and everything else is blah, 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 blah. Well, no, it's just the same technology is being applied by the banks in a form of cryptocurrency that will probably be around, but it's not, but it doesn't triple every day. Well,
because it's stable. Can I get a Visa card, a blockchain Visa card with Kylo Ren on it?
Blockchain Visa card. Well, there some people were issuing blockchain credit cards. That's what it was getting into. Well, we have to talk about. I guess this is going to be another whole.
I don't know who Kylo Ren is.
Good.
Kylo Ren's Star Wars.
Wouldn't it be great? You get your Visa card, and you can have your terrible Star Wars character on it, and it says blockchain Visa. And it's all marketing and hype.
Well, Visa is working on whole blockchain technology too, because blockchain is a technology which is a revolutionary technology, and it's going to be applied in multiple industries as a settlement and transaction tracking technology and a ledger technology. Now, just because something is using blockchain does not mean it means it's okay. People are taking this revolutionary technology and applying it to different businesses, but it doesn't mean that the company should be valued at absurd levels. Here's what everybody's shocked. Everybody's shocked at this. Did you see near the top of the show notes? Not at the very top. That was for the stock market, number of trading days without a 5% pullback, which is. But the next one down. What's the next graphic down I have?
How many crashes per quarter?
Bitcoin crashes roughly once per quarter, and it shows, last quarter it was a 35% drop. The quarter before that, it was a 36% drop. The quarter before that, it was 28% drop. It's even had 70% drops and 59% drops. Is if this caught anybody off guard, they've not been paying attention, or they rushed in, it's going to the moon. Well, this is not unexpected. That's what literally drives me crazy
But the volatility, it's just so fast, you know? It's like you go to
Well, it went
sleep
up so fast.
Yeah, there you go. For the longest time, it's been reasonable.
I mean, how many nights did you go to bed and it's like you wake up the next morning? Oh, look, my account's up 15, 20%. Well,
and then you get out. I wait and get the heck out of it.
But that's where, you know, as fast as it can go up, it can also even go down faster. So then that's what people don't think of. And that's where they get caught off guard, especially people late to the game who didn't do their research, didn't watch our videos on our channel. Don't be shocked. And we talked about also, what was the theme? Have a plan. Know when you're lightening up. Know where your stop losses are so you can get out and then you can get back in lower. We were mentioning that when it was still up 18, 19,000. Know where your stops are. All right, now we're trading against the 4-hour rotation zone. Now sellers are against us, so know any rallies into that, that's a time that you can get out of more.
What I was going to say is the most important thing I think Stafford said in the start of this little side conversation is that he went into it with money he could lose. And I think that's the biggest problem facing, especially even what's going on right now, even with Bitcoin trading. Where is it now? About 12,800, 13,000?
12,454 right now.
All right. So it's recovered a couple thousand points. For those of you that have not been in markets and you're just listening to us for the cryptocurrency part of this, what ends up happening when you get sell-offs like this is there are people waiting to buy it at lower prices. Those are generally the smarter investors. They're the ones that were not chasing all of you guys up to 20,000. They were just sitting. And they were saying, I respectfully would like to buy and hold Bitcoin between 8,000 and 10,000. And that's actually a good strategy if that's where you value it. I'm fine with that. There are people that will buy it and it'll go back up a little bit, but then there's also people that missed the sell, that have been sitting there staring at their screen and can't stomach this move. And they're throwing up into their keyboard. And when it gets back up to 13, 14,000, they're like, oh, thank God, a couple of more points. I'm now not completely broke. I'm going to sell it again. And I'm just going to use an example of this. Generally, when you get a move like we've had over the last 4 days, right, where Bitcoin fell 40% off its intraday high, there are people that were not able to get out. They either got scared or they bought more or something. And as it comes back, they're sitting there saying, just let me get to break even. Just let me get to break even and I'll get out. Some of them do, some of them don't. So there is likely to be a second wave of selling. I would refer you to whatever videos Mike does in the next couple of days as to say where these things may or may not happen. But the smartest thing Stafford said at the start of this conversation is, I went into this with money I could lose. Most people that are panicking right now did not go into it with money they could lose. They went into it with money they can't lose. They were hoping that Bitcoin would pay off their credit cards and pay off their mortgage.
Remember, we've talked about this in the last couple of shows, where people were buying Bitcoin or other altcoins with their credit cards, and they were taking out home equity lines to invest in Bitcoin.
Yeah, we read about that. Mike mentioned Japanese people trading 25% margins. Crazy.
And what happens when you trade on margin? What happens when you trade at 25% leverage and you have a substantial correction? All those people are wiped out, and they're wiped out more. That's why you're getting a lot of ripple effect in all the cryptos, because people are having to sell everything to cover margin calls.
Right.
Because they've lost more than was in their account.
Right. So now they're like, wow, I would have held the Bitcoin cash, but I can't. Because I need to come up with money. I'd be very interested for you to bump into the couple of people you know, Mike, that quit their jobs because this was so easy, and see if this was enough of a sell-off to hurt them. If it wasn't, that means more are coming.
I will find out this weekend. But it reminds me, back in before the last stock market big decline in 2008, the person who will remain nameless that I know very well, because remember, housing was also going up, so took out a huge second or home equity line or second mortgage and put it all in the stock market, because the stock market could only go up. And this was 2007. I'm like, okay, we're near the end. and I said, you took out all the equity in your house because your house had run up in value, and then you you went all into the stock market with that money. So you essentially took a leverage loan to put it all in the stock market. And when they both declined massively, it was a double whammy hit. The same thing was happening in the crypto realms. With all right, I'm gonna take out home equity line. I have 10,000 available on my shiny new Capital One card. I'm gonna take 10,000 and put it into Bitcoin.
One of the interesting things is, you guys talk about stops and limits and all that, and since I'm just getting into this, I did stock stuff a century ago, but I decided, let's do a little bit of this ridiculousness. I'm there on the exchange that I'm doing, which I'm sure everybody knows about. There aren't no stops or limit orders, so it all requires me to be completely time invested to make this call for these moves that are happening so fast. And I would think the smartest thing that I have said is that the new Star Wars is a dumpster fire, but I do think you shouldn't put any money in there that you aren't throwing away.
Yeah, it needs to be throwaway money.
Star Wars to
Bob said the smartest thing you said earlier, and that's not it. The smartest thing is the new Star Wars is a dumpster fire. The box office is so down; it's just crashing. I love it.
Also, what else do we see this week, Bob? With companies stocks changing their name and companies just adding blockchain to their name, and then what were the stocks doing?
Well, Longfin went from single digits to about $146 to the point where even the CEO went on television and said this valuation is not justified. The CEO was on TV in a panic. I think when he saw the stock do that, he looked at it and said, someone's going to come after me. He goes, I'm sure that's what he was thinking. He was thinking, someone's going to come after me as if I somehow engineered this. And he just was on TV saying it's not justified. It's insane. It's actually a wonderful interview with this guy because you can see the fear on his face. There was another company that makes iced tea drinks, amongst other drinks. Long Island Iced Tea Company. Changed their name to Long Blockchain. The stock went up 246%. All they said was they're going to start investing in blockchain startups. That's it. They didn't even do any yet. And their stock went up 246%. Mike and I toyed with the idea of changing Path Trading Partners to Path Blockchain Company and going IPO.
We can do that on Twitter. We could just change our name really quick at whatever we want. If you want me to do that, it will be done.
It's comical. You look at something like if you're trading cryptocurrencies at 25% margin, okay? So let's say you're trading a $2,000 account and you only put $500 in there, right? A simple 25% drop means your $500 is now a $2,600 loss. So your $500 is gone and you owe another $2,600. Simple math. I mean, it depends on where. The CME group has close to a 50% margin requirement, just initial margin requirement to trade the future side. So you put $500 in and now you find yourself losing that $500, owing another $2,600 because of margin. And again, this whole idea that blockchain is going nowhere. There will be a cryptocurrency that is globally accepted as a form of payment. There probably will be a couple of them.
But it'll be like calling something, this is a router.
Exactly.
Or this is a Cat5 Ethernet cable.
Exactly.
Big deal.
That was Bitcoin Jesus, what's his name, Ver. That was Bitcoin Jesus' whole reason for saying that he prefers Bitcoin Cash to Bitcoin, because he was obviously part of the hard fork, right? And when Bitcoin Cash went aside, Bitcoin Cash according to him, I don't know these details, but according to him, Bitcoin Cash maintained its cheap to free money transfer qualities that Bitcoin lost in the transition. So his point was Bitcoin Cash remained with the mission of trying to be a cheap to free currency that didn't have government or banks in the middle of it. That was his whole point. So if that's where you see the value of cryptocurrencies, you would be at Bitcoin Cash over Bitcoin. Again, if his statements are true, I did not independently verify those statements.
Now, my favorite one is we cover this on our channel because it's been fun to trade, but the EOS tokens.
Yeah.
That's the one. EOS, I love that. The EOS, by the way, is put out by Block One, a Cayman Island software startup company that doesn't even have an office. Now, EOS tokens, here's the best thing. The purchase agreement for files of the initial coin offering for EOS must sign the disclosure on it. The EOS tokens do not have any rights, uses, purpose, attributes, functionalities, and features express or implied, including without limitation any uses, purpose, attributes, functionalities, and features on the EOS platform. So you can essentially invest in something that has no purpose.
And they claim it.
And they claim it. Now, we cover it because it's been fun to trade it, but it has no purpose.
How much did they raise in their ICO? I believe it was somewhere in the range of 31 million.
They've already extracted 700 million in real money so far. It's already up. People have dumped 700 million into EOS. Now, EOS.
Do that.
EOS. Now, see, EOS went from back in end of October. I'll give you an example. It was trading at 57 cents. All right. It was trading lower before that. It was trading, in the 40s. It went up to $12.50. It crashed down earlier today to $4, and now it's back to $7.15. But it has no purpose.
I believe somewhere in the prospectus as well, they basically said that we don't intend to give you back any of your money in this. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but that's something to the extent of what it said, is that you will probably lose all your money. I mean, I feel like it was a joke. And now they're like, we better sell all our EOS because we just made a lot of money.
I mean, it's like right now everybody thinks this is legitimate, right? And they're all thinking this is all cool and this is the new thing. But times change, and I'm sure many years down the road, this is going to look like very wrong, very illegal type of stuff.
I think that's why it's a Cayman Island startup with nobody in their offices.
They don't have an office.
Exactly. I would be surprised if the founders are still involved in any way, shape, or form. They extract $700 million, and they're just like, okay, well, we're done. You guys can go ahead and trade this, but we're not involved.
And it's gone. Back to that South Park episode, and it's gone.
I'm surprised there's not a Google coin, and I'm surprised there's not a Facebook coin.
Yeah.
And there's got to be a Tesla coin, right?
Oh, no. And you know what? Morgan Stanley, Jonas is going to value it at about like 137 million. So he'll say the stock price should now be at 400 and something. That's good. Tesla coin. If you buy a Tesla, you get a free Tesla coin.
I literally want to see a live debate between him and Gandalf on anything. I honestly cannot believe he hasn't come out with a currency. Can we see if we can? Buy the domain Tesla crypto or Elon Musk coin? How about a Musk coin? Can we buy that?
It just got bought. If anyone heard this,
I'm just searching Twitter for Musk coin.
It's a must-have. There's your bad joke. There's your bad joke of the show. It's a must-have.
Oh, here's a guy on Twitter, Boss Hog, March 28th of 2017. I like Musk coin. You know something dumb like that is coming. I got in at Musk coin at $30.
Here's the funny thing. Litecoin right now is trading 235. It's actually holding in the daily rotation. It's spiked below the daily rotation zone, but it's actually holding above it right now. Litecoin's, this is the shocking thing. It's only back to levels it was trading on the 12th of December.
I know, it's so dumb.
So it's not even back. Take away 10 days. We're recording this on the 22nd of December. It's only back to levels it was trading on the 12th of December. Back at the beginning of December, it was trading at 92. Now it's trading at 236. That's still a huge move up.
Yeah, the news cycle has just shrunk to nanoseconds. It's terrible.
If Litecoin were to go to Litecoin was at $4 back in April.
So dumb.
Yeah, and people are like, because it was over $3, it was up to a high of 370. So everyone's like, oh. That's a quote. They go, oh. And but it only goes up, Bob.
Wow.
It only goes up.
I'm seeing Bitcoin Cash currently down 20%. So see what I mean? It's coming back. It's coming back, everybody. They don't go down. But it's interesting. What's interesting about this sell-off and Mike, you can confirm if I'm right or wrong on this, but like you look at a daily chart and it's back to the breakout zone, which is somewhere where Mike and I would have gone in and said, okay, here we can buy a little bit. Not during the entire downdraft. There's a breakout zone.
There was the nice, we've talked about this, and I'm going to put up a video on this to show, but there was a really nice entry about a little bit before we started recording this. You know where I talk about we have those long-tailed, they're essentially capitulation moves, and then you watch for the 50% retracement of that candle, you know, where I've put out videos with that before, but I'll document it. There was one that was triggered at this point about an hour ago, about an hour, and it was the 50% level. You could have picked it up around 11,800. Oh, that level sounds very familiar, 11,800. And now we're over to 12,868. But this is a trade. This is not an investment again. Why? Because we're against rotation zone.
Right.
So what do? You don't get greedy. Hey, let's say it rallies back to 14,000. I'm out. You know, because this is where it's going to attract the people who, I got it at 14. If it could just get to 14, if it could just get to 14,500, I'll get out. You know, this is where you have to watch, because sellers are going to keep coming in who need to get out of stuff. Yeah. Or who can't stomach this anymore because they watched it go up to close to 20,000 and now it's back below where they bought it and they don't want to deal with it anymore.
Yeah, I also don't want people to think that we're somehow enjoying this. It's actually painful to see these things happen time after time after time, whether it be with stocks or whether it be with gold. Remember, gold has never been near where it was again. I remember when gold was making its run, it was nowhere near this. But when gold was making its run to 2,000, there were all kinds of people we called gold bugs, and a bunch of gold websites came out. Over and over again, you see these things happen where things are going straight up, and all of a sudden, all these unscrupulous websites and companies and marketers pop up. And they start to, get in on this now. It's going up. It's going to here. It's going to there. Gold's going to 3,000. Gold's going to 5,000. Gold hasn't been able to budge above 13,000 in forever now. 1,300 in forever now. So Mike and I have seen it happen in the internet bubble. We've seen it happen in certain commodities, gold. We've read historical studies of it. This cryptocurrency one is the worst one. Because it's attacking an investor class that has no experience and it takes very little money to get involved.
And this is where I do agree with Jamie Dimon saying where this is the Ponzi aspect of it, where it requires, I'm not saying it's a Ponzi scheme, but this is a Ponzi where it requires the late money coming in. The money who was in a lot in the beginning was selling to the late money coming in. And, it was all these people, it's easy money to get in cryptos. You could, as Stafford keeps saying, you could buy your Lamborghini, you could do this, you could do that. But as everybody was piling in, I'm quitting my job as a bagger at the local grocery store to trade cryptos.
I'm saying the 99 cents Hot Wheel Lamborghini at CVS. That's the Lamborghini.
Well, now that's all you're buying. But that's where the late money, the people who thought it was the easy money are, oh boy, they were fueling it to the people getting out.
Unbelievable.
This is not unprecedented, and we're not saying that. Where's this going? I don't know where it's going. Could Bitcoin go back above 20? Sure. It's again, we don't predict where it's going. We find the high probability trades and we trade it. That's all we can do. I cannot tell you where Bitcoin's going to be definitively in 6 months. And anybody who says they can, no, they can't.
Especially Bitcoin, because it's a brand new asset class. It's the leader in that asset class. You can't even value it against a current market leader. You can't even value it. Like somebody could theoretically go to Ripple and say, well, Litecoin is here, Bitcoin is here, Ether is here. So based off of their valuations, I can come up with a valuation for Ripple. Somebody could theoretically do that. But there's no way to come up with a valuation, which is what's keeping a lot of people in traditional markets out of it, is because they're saying, I don't understand. They're not saying they don't understand Bitcoin and its use case. They're saying, I don't understand how to value it. And this curly-haired guy that we keep talking about on the YouTube videos, who says there's $1 trillion of demand for cash out there, you're talking decades before somebody looks at a cryptocurrency as being able to fill even 10% of that.
Isn't there $1 trillion of demand for everything else?
Yeah, I mean, look, until cryptocurrencies are backed by something physical, which I don't want to see happen. Again, I don't want, crypto fans acting like we're against cryptos. We're not. But until it's backed by something physical, or multiple major governments say they will accept cryptocurrencies as payment of taxes, these things going to zero is possible. And in some cases, it's likely, like the EOS. It's probably going to zero.
How about Zidu Coin?
That's going to zero just by the name.
Well, that was the Longfin Corporation. That's the one we talked about, Longfin. They have Zidu Coin, which is a smart contract that enables SMEs, processors, manufacturers, importers, and exporters using cryptocurrencies across continents. Zidu coins are loosely pegged to Ethereum and Bitcoin. I love loosely pegged. The importers and exporters convert offered Zidu coins into Ethereum or Bitcoin and use the proceeds for their working capital needs. At the end of the contract, importers and exporters will realize their proceeds and pay back their funds through cryptocurrencies only. Depending on the risk profile of the counterparty, the interest will vary from 12 to 48%.
All right, moving on. Speaking of Tesla.
Well, Tesla now, as of December 15th, it implemented the new supercharger fair use policy that discourages commercial EV drivers from using their Tesla supercharger network. And again, you cannot mine Bitcoin because that violates their fair use. So you can't mine Bitcoin in the back of your Tesla plugged into their supercharger network. I think they're looking to save money.
Yeah, I mean, how could they restrict that?
They can turn it off. They can turn your car off. They can.
Yeah, no, but
you can see how many times you're plugging in per day, and so just be careful if you're trying to mine Bitcoins, or if you're a Uber or a Lyft driver in your Tesla.
Remember, the Model 3 has a camera on the inside looking at all the passengers.
Wow. How is everybody comfortable with this?
They don't talk about that.
Yeah.
Well, that's not just Teslas, though, because even GM, we talked about that in the Cadillac one, they have a camera facing in to make sure you're actually paying attention to the road when you put it into the, I'll call it their version of the autopilot mode, that you're actually not holding, like you don't have your little portable DVD player or iPad and you're watching Transformers latest movie on your iPad and engaging autopilot.
No, that camera will be used to waive liability of Tesla in a criminal defense court.
There you go.
Yep. We told you shouldn't put the bag of rice on your steering wheel and have it engage autopilot. We talked about that too.
By the way, I'm a huge fan of Maudlin, Mike, John Maudlin.
Okay.
You have a chart in the notes from him.
Yep.
That I hadn't seen.
Yeah, Bitcoin crashes roughly once per quarter. Top 20 number of trading days without a greater than a 5% pullback since 1928. We're in the second longest streak ever.
We are in the longest streak ever without a 3% pullback. I think it's 257 days right now.
Speaking of that, where is the VIX?
Below 9, isn't it? Was yesterday.
Oh, boy. Well, there's no... that's also something that at some point is going to end poorly.
It just seems to me like the VIX is, at least now, perhaps in the central bank controlled era, is a flawed product. I mean, just as...
Well, you know how many short VIX stuff there is out there? That's going to end very badly at some point.
Do you know what the Sharpe ratio of short VIX is?
What?
The Sharpe ratio of short VIX is in the range of 4.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's. By the way, for people who don't know, Sharpe ratio measures risk-adjusted returns. So how much you make versus how much you were risking, and usually you look for kind of a 1 or better. 4 is like unheard of. By the way,
there's flaws in the Sharpe ratio, though, when you're looking.
Yeah, absolutely. I prefer the
when you're trying to do things like short VIX because. But here's the big problem. You can also have a huge blow up. And yeah. I guarantee all the, I was reading the other day how much is invested in short VIX products, and it's astronomical at this point. And if we do have a decent VIX spike back above 20, it's going to cause massive carnage and pain. Because there's highly leveraged bets that keep going in short VIX, and every little rally we have in the VIX is just short more, short more, short more. And it's like the VIX can't go up. The VIX can't go up. Well, you could get some unexpected event that could trigger the VIX to go back into the 40s. And the amount of leveraged bets against the VIX right now is astronomical.
I mean, again, the VIX it's a mean reverting index, right? It's a mean reverting product. So at some point, either the mean is going to drop down, which would take a long time, right? It'd take a lot more of this. The mean has been slowly dropping, obviously, but I'm guessing the mean is still somewhere in the high teens, which would destroy a lot of people if it were to hover there. And mean reverting doesn't mean it goes there and stops.
Right. It shoots beyond. It
shoots beyond.
That's the equilibrium point. So
right.
if the mean was, let's say, at 18 right now, this thing could easily go to 36.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what did it go to back in even 2015? This is where people have short memories. The week of August 24th, 2015, the VIX hit a high of 53.29. Do you know what that would do at this point with all these leveraged bets? If we hit a VIX of 50, it would be like what just happened in the crypto realm with people were trading with massive leverage. Oh, it can't go up. Well, just like Bitcoin couldn't go down. What happened? A bunch of people just got wiped out. And it will happen at some point in the VIX with some unexpected event.
Every time you have conditions of this can't happen, it happens.
We just don't know when. I don't know when. That I've been contacted over the last couple of days by people. Well, why couldn't you tell me when Bitcoin was going to be finally done? Well, because I don't have a crystal ball. All I know is it was going to. That's why I could not say exactly when it was going to revert to its weekly rotation zone, but it was going to go back to its weekly rotation zone. Right. So you trade with the trend until it ends, and you have your stops in place, and then you get out and let it return to the weekly rotation zone. What's going on in the U.S. economy, Bob?
Real quick, Mike. I was going to say that. Let's get to sort of the wind down. I'm sure, Stafford, we've got a show, right?
Oh, yeah, there's a show.
Yeah, if there's anything else you want to cover, Mike, let's get to it, and then let's get to the what and the why, because I got to.
Well, we should just talk about the Q3 final GDP came in 3.2 versus expectations of 3.3. GDP now model for the fourth quarter they're looking at 2.8%. That just came out.
That goes a little higher.
So that's the major stuff I have in the U.S. economy. Do you have anything else?
We saw PCE deflator today come in again at unchanged. So we're still not seeing price pressure. I talked about it last week, but pointing out the non-farm payrolls didn't have wage growth again. So not seeing these wages grow again in the PCE deflator. You did see a little uptick in consumer spending, actually a pretty decent uptick. Year over year, consumer spending is now up 4.5%, whereas in 2016, it was up 4.2%. So there's a little bit more going there. And revolving credit card debt is up again in the U.S., and delinquencies are starting to slowly rise. Nothing to be concerned with yet, but the delinquencies are starting to slowly rise. The interesting part is the highest rise in delinquency rate is now with auto payments. There's been a slight spike, and I don't have the percentage in front of me, of auto car loan payments 30 to 60 days delinquent. There's been a spike in that. The interesting thing we saw during the credit crisis was, what's the one thing that people will always pay? It's not their mortgage, it's their car payment. Because they can't get to work and they can't run from the house they can't afford without their car. So to see those kind of spike up is interesting to me. It might be a little bit of a canary in a coal mine. We'll see. I mean, the numbers need to get a lot better. And we saw the yield curve steepen this week. So we saw the long end go 10-year went all the way out to 250, which we hadn't seen since the yields were coming down. The last time we saw 250, yields were coming from 265 down to 250. So yield curve, again, starting to steepen finally. And as I just mentioned, 250, last time we saw 250, we were actually on the way down from about 270 as opposed to the way back up. So that was kind of a good sign for the overall economy. And then I'll cover the other part I wanted to cover too in my why.
You could just go into your why now.
Today's edition of The What and the Why is brought to you by Motive Wave Software. Motive Wave Software is a well-established developer of easy-to-use, full-featured charting, analysis, and trading software built for the individual trader. Motive Wave offers the best charting tools used by the pros, such as Elliott Wave, Fibonacci, Gartley, Gann ratio analysis, but it's presented in a very easy-to-use way. Motive Wave has a product to fit any budget and any trading style, and one of the very best features, it's available on Windows and Mac. So go to pathtradingpartners.com right now to get your 14-day free trial, and then visit them at motivewave.com.
Right. So my why is, why are central banks, if we have such a great economy, we got a strong U.S. economy, 3.2% third quarter. Atlanta's GDP now, which again will change in 5 minutes, expecting another number near 3%. We are at what a lot of economists have been calling full employment at a 4.1% unemployment rate for the last 2 months. Why is the Fed cautious? Why do they still seem cautious to quote unquote normalize rates? So the U.S. Fed is the only central bank moving in that direction so far. Swiss National Bank has threatened it. The ECB has talked about it. Japan just said there's no need for it. So no other central bank of note is making any move to pull accommodation away except the U.S. And the U.S. Fed governors and presidents continue to say things like, we will be cautious. Most of the market believes that while the Fed is predicting 3 rate hikes for next year, they're more likely to do 2 than they are to do 4. In other words, they're more likely to err on the side of caution and dovishness than they are to get more aggressive. So why is that? And the reason is wages, because wages are not budging. So how are we at full unemployment with a growing economy and wages not moving? So in the past, what would happen is people would start competing for talent, and there was limited talent, so those talent would come in at higher and higher wages, or in order to keep talent, people would pay these talented people more. And that's not happening currently. It's the only thing in the way of the Fed getting more aggressive in normalizing rates. Well, we finally may have wages, and it's in the form of the Tax Cut and Jobs Act that was just passed by Congress, signed today. It's Friday at about 10 to 12 Central Time. It was signed by President Trump about an hour ago or so. So it is now law. It is now going to be implemented. And regardless of your politics, regardless whether you love this president, hate him, regardless whether you are Republican, Democrat, Independent, Libertarian, immediately after Congress passed the tax plan, there were no fewer than 5 or 6 different companies that announced that they're going to bump up minimum wage. Wells Fargo, Fifth Third Bank said so much. They were both taking their minimum wage from the $13 and change, their internal minimum wage, up to $15. Both of these banks announced broad-based bonuses. Wells Fargo announced it for non-executives, and Fifth Third announced it for everybody, $1,000 bonuses in both cases. Comcast said they would use their tax reform to give money back to employees and increase capital spending. AT&T talked about $1,000 bonuses for everybody. Boeing immediately released $300 million in new capital spending for 2018 that they had earmarked if the tax plan passed, which it did. And Wells Fargo even said they'd give $400 million to community and nonprofit organizations next year that they weren't giving. So the corporate tax rate being cut from 35 to 21%. This is not the end of these. FedEx announced when it announced their earnings, which was after the tax plan, that they're going to increase, GDP is going to increase material next year. And as a result of the tax reform, they're going to increase capital expenditure and hire more people because they are anticipating almost surefire growth. You can look at this as optics. You could say that they did this for PR, but there's a couple of things that this does. Number one, companies like Wells Fargo and Fifth Third are going to shame companies like Bank of America, Citigroup, and JP Morgan, and other regional type banks like Fifth Third, so US Bank and the like, to raise their minimum wages as well. It's going to happen. They have to do it because it looks too bad from a PR standpoint if they don't. They will at least give out bonuses. Same thing with AT&T. You're probably going to see it from Verizon, probably going to see it from Sprint. Comcast, you're probably going to see it from Dish Network and DirecTV. They have to do it. So whether you like this plan or not, in the short term, wages are going to rise. I'm saying GDP now is going to be higher in the fourth quarter than the Atlanta Fed has it, because you know how Americans are. If you're one of those people getting that $1,000 bonus, you spent it. It's gone. It's already out the door. You have spent it. And the fact that it's in the news, it'll get paid. So everything needs to be ratcheted up ever so slightly. And while we're doing this podcast right now, stocks are actually lower, and that's fine. As you go into a holiday week, you tend to get these kinds of just people getting out of positions, not wanting to hold them over the weekend when there's just low liquidity and fewer market participants. But this will cause wage numbers to rise. The question is whether it's temporary or longer term good. At this particular stage, don't care. This is not a political why that I'm doing. All I know is that immediately after that tax plan cut, major corporations upped what they're paying employees. Wages are rising. This is now out of the way of the Fed and out of the way of global central banks, because the U.S. tends to pull up the rest of the world. So wages are about to rise. Potentially the Fed could get more aggressive. That's my line.
And my what is, everybody just listen to Bob Iacchino because he's very smart. So,
and just buy all cryptocurrencies on any dip.
With 25 times leverage.
Is that an onion, a sour cream and onion dip, or a cheese dip?
It's a queso dip. It's a Chipotle queso dip.
I prefer spinach avocado with the cheese.
Spinach avocado?
Yeah.
That's
spinach avocado dip with Gouda.
If it's Gouda, it's got to be better.
Can we do Gouda coin? Let's do cheese coin, and each cheese and a coin.
Cheddar.
Coin.
I'm betting on cheddar.
I'm long the Roquefort coin.
I'm surprised Kraft doesn't have the Kraft coin now.
We're so doing this. Watch for the Path Trading Partners cheese coin.
Well, first we're renaming our name to Path Trading Blockchain Partners.
Path Trading block cheese chain.
Block cheese.